I sold 100 people into a $55,000 mastermind. That's $5.5 million per year for essentially answering questions. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you some lessons I learned from building that mastermind, how I would do it differently now, some pitfalls to avoid, and just everything you need to know if you want to profit from masterminds in your business. So what makes a profitable mastermind? Well, most people actually misunderstand what a mastermind is. What a mastermind is supposed to be is where a group of people come together, they pay an entry fee, they hang out and they connect. Most masterminds are not like this because the leader of the mastermind, or the guru or thought leader, if you will, that's who people want to be in the room with. That's who people want to speak to and hang around with. The extra people in the room are sort of a bonus. And I've seen some people try to sell masterminds where it's just a group hanging out and there's no like real leader. That's very hard to do because it costs a lot of money. You have to provide experiences for people. You basically have to make it this cool kids club. Instead of, hey, here's a thought leader, here's someone that you trust, here's a person that in your industry or in your market, you're like, this is one of the top guys, right? I want to be around that guy more. I want to ask him questions. I want to be in his inner circle. And I mean, I hate to say it this way because this is really what it is, but it's the guru model. And this is easier to sell because people really buy masterminds for one of three reasons. They either buy it for connections, which is true. You definitely want to make connections. They buy it for status, for them to say, hey, I'm in this group, I'm special because I actually paid the entry fee. I got in this very special exclusive group. And number three is they want certainty. So to give you an example of this, let's say you sell a book and someone buys that book, they read it, maybe they buy one of your lower end programs or services, could be a done for you service, could be a coaching or info product. And then they say, you know what, I want to make sure I'm doing this right. So I want to join the highest level of this thought leader because that's what you're doing, right? You're putting books out there, you're putting content out there, you're putting YouTube videos out there on your social media. You are basically saying, hey, I'm a thought leader, please listen to how I think about things. And when you offer them the highest level of what you do, your mastermind, where the top students or the top clients hang out, you're basically saying, look, if you want certainty that you're doing this right, get as close to me as possible. And this doesn't just apply to info products and coaches. There are many people I've seen who provide services who still have a mastermind. If you're a lawyer and you provide legal services, who's to say you can't have some sort of mastermind where you teach upper end strategies and you have people in the group that other people could connect with that have pull in certain industries? So now you're probably wondering, well, how do I actually structure a mastermind? Well, it's simple. The way I structure my mastermind when I grew it to $5.5 million per year was I didn't really give anyone anything. I just gave them more access to what they already purchased. So I started with a book, and that book was called Digital Millionaire Secrets. Now, I always start with a book because every movement starts with scripture, okay? And I'm not calling my book scripture by any stretch of the imaginations, but essentially that's what it is. It's some sort of doctrine for me saying, hey, my name is Dan Henry, and I believe this doctrine, this way of thinking is the fastest way to become an online millionaire. Now, you could have a book that talks about weight loss or confidence or legal systems or any topic you can think of. And just like Tony Robbins, who sells books constantly and puts his scripture out there, people read his scripture and they want to be closer to it, make sure they're doing it right, so they go to his events. Gary Vee writes books on his social media scripture, and then big companies hire VaynerMedia at like $100,000 a month to do services for them. And so even if you're not selling a mastermind, you're just selling something expensive, always start with scripture. So write a book. That is a huge tip that I can give you. Always start with some sort of book. Then you have mid-range products, right? These are coaching programs, info products, courses, maybe a software, etc. Once people buy that, and they get a little bit of a win, or they already have had wins in other areas of their life and they just want to go hardcore max on this, now you set them up to come to your highest level. And all that is at least what I did, was a weekly call where I answered questions, and I did one event every 3 months, 2-day event. Again, just a room where people would come and I would answer questions. Now, the weekly calls were virtual on Zoom. The meetings were in person at my office in St. Pete, Florida. Now, I have since moved to Dubai, and so it's very difficult for me to have like in-person meetings. And I actually shut my mastermind, that entire $5.5 million a year mastermind down. But I recently restarted another mastermind, which is actually less than half the price, but I just do the calls. And everybody's super happy with that. They don't feel the need to come out or fly out to Dubai. And this is a point that you might want to write down, is that people really just want more access to you. You don't need to make them t-shirts or decoder rings or special little trinkets. I know a lot of people say that. They say, oh, you need to build a brand and you need to build a culture and you need to basically give people these printed things that make them a part of your movement or whatever. And yeah, I can see where for some people that would be helpful, but at the end of the day, I never did that. In fact, I would make fun of it. When people would come to the mastermind, I'd be like, listen, we're gonna sit here for the next 7 hours. We're gonna solve problems in your business. I'm not taking you to a fancy lunch. We'll order Uber Eats, and that's that. We're here to solve problems in your business, not go to fucking Disneyland and have a good time. And so I led with that ideology that, are you here to make money or are you here to have a good time? For me, like, I've multiple times bought into masterminds. I never went to the fancy events. I never enjoyed doing the little games to make it fun. I just don't care. I want to accomplish the mission. And so I put that kind of energy out there and I attract people like me. So if you want to build a mastermind and you want to spend a lot of money on dinners and experiences and celebrities coming in, well, that's only going to happen if you put out the type of content and the type of energy that attracts people who like that. But if you put out the type of content and energy that attracts people who don't really care about that, you're gonna get people that don't really care about that, and then you're not gonna have to spend money on that, but you can still charge the same prices that you would if you did. And this is how I literally had 100% profit margin, other than, you know, some Uber Eats here and there. And this is how powerful your doctrine can be. Because when you have a solid doctrine, when you say, look, if you want to accomplish this goal, this is the process, here's the payoff, this is the process that you need to do to get to it, people will become so infatuated with that process that a certain percentage of them will pay anything to be deeper in that process and make sure they're doing it right. So how did I sell it? That's obviously a big question. For people that were in my coaching programs, any sort of community I had, anytime there was a win from the mastermind, I would make sure that they posted it in the regular group. So there was this constant sort of circulation of the water, if you will, that made sure that there was never a stagnant moment where the people who were in the mid-tier program didn't think, ooh, I really got to get in the mastermind. It was constantly in their mind, refreshed. Every time there was a win, it was put in the group. As well, sometimes I would do things where when I had a meeting or had a call, I would broadcast the first 20 minutes or hour to the regular people. And so I was constantly feeding them breadcrumbs and showing them like, hey, I know you're potentially interested in the mastermind, but you don't know what it's like. Here's what it's like. And I just made sure to always do a good job in my mastermind so that they wanted it, period. And I find that instead of pulling out all these fancy tricks and BS, you can just do a really good job at what you do and demonstrate that, show it, and people are gonna wanna be a part of it. And I honestly think that's easier than trying to create some sort of cult. That's my thing, man, is I don't care about a cult or any of that BS. Like, look, I'm very good at growing online businesses and helping others do it and figuring out what's wrong in their business and just turning it around really fast. And I've demonstrated that in hundreds of client case studies and testimonials over the years. So I'm personally confident. I don't need to give you a t-shirt to make you feel good. I just want to fix your business. That's it. Again, that's the energy I put out. That's the people I attract. Whatever people you want in your mastermind, put out that energy. Now, another way I sold it, and this was about half the people that came in, and this is going to blow your mind. Whenever we had a call with someone who was interested in the mid-tier program, if we thought even for a moment that they were a potential for the mastermind, we would just mention it. And I'd probably say at least 20% of the buyers that bought that mid-tier just immediately upgraded to the mastermind as a first purchase. So we would fill a ton of people in through just chatting with them on a call and saying, hey, we have this mastermind. There was another chunk that would upgrade from the mid-tier, and then there was another huge chunk that when I did paid presentations, those people would immediately go to the mastermind. And a paid presentation is like a multi-day webinar that you charge for, so people tend to stay longer and pay more attention and convert a lot higher. And so what I'm really getting at here is I didn't have to create much of anything except host some Zoom calls and some in-person events. All the content was already there. But at the end of the day, I like sitting down with entrepreneurs and just listening to their problems and fixing them. That's my version of a mastermind. So here's some action steps you can take. Number one, do you have scripture in your business, in your brand? Because if you don't have scripture, you're not giving anyone anything to follow. So they're not going to follow you into the bigger room, into the more exclusive room. Scripture creates followers. Number two, are you putting out the type of energy that attract type of people you want in your mastermind? Number three, do you have a process for actually upselling people into that mastermind or getting them to buy immediately? Number four, do you know the type of content you need to put out to specifically attract people who would even want to be in a mastermind? And number five, do you have other products set up in your business to not only attract paid buyers that would eventually upgrade, but that pay all your staff, all your bills, maybe even some profit, and then anybody that joins your mastermind, it's just pure profit for you to go and have fun with and enjoy vacations in Thailand like I'm doing right now, and my wife's sitting in there wondering why we're not going to the beach yet because I'm recording a YouTube video. This is the life you can have when you tack on a back-end offer to your business that essentially is almost zero fulfillment other than you hopping on Zoom and answering questions. Now, if you need more help implementing a mastermind program and growing it in your business or any other problem you might have, I'll leave a link in the description where you can see how I can help you. See you in the next one.